Let's bring in journalist and filmmaker Ami Horowitz. Ami, those scenes are incredible. Harvard has a problem, but it's hardly alone in academia in having a significant self-inflicted cultural problem.
No, absolutely not. This is endemic across academia, unfortunately, across the United States. Look, Harvard has been bemoaning the threats of Trump to cut off funding to the university. Well, guys, you have a $53 billion with a B dollar endowment that's bigger than the national currency reserves of Argentina, Finland, and Ireland combined. Okay. Ultimately, the only thing that will change the behavior of these institutions is money. Okay. I'm a big believer that look, they're private universities. They can raise money on their own. They take, in some cases, $100,000 per student for tuition. They can survive on their own. If they want federal funding, they got to play the game. Okay, that's the way it works. And money talks. That's what will make them change their ways. Threat of money. And you know, all these rich conservative billionaires who over the years have given hundreds of millions of dollars per person to have their name in the school. I blame you guys. I'm sorry. This is nothing new. We have known about the cultural problems of these universities for years. October 7th is nothing new. Their support of October 7th and Hamas is nothing new. This has been going on for years, if not decades. And you guys and we have been funding it. Garbage in, garbage out. It really starts, frankly, Rita, with the professors. These professors have been teaching woke ideology, the idea that colonizers need to be kicked out of every country, that the United States is the most evil of all the countries, that Israel is evil for years. Rita, you know, I've been on the show talking about my experiences in colleges around the country. I would say I take a second seat to no one on understanding how bad these universities are. I have gone to Yale, where I've hidden cameras, and they were supporting the destruction of the First Amendment. I've been beaten up on the campus of CUNY University for raising an American flag. I raised money to murder Jews at San Francisco State University. A few examples. This cultural rot has been there for decades. It's got to stop.
Now, Borders' Tom Homan was asked about whether leaders of sanctuary cities who are harbouring criminals could be arrested. Now, listen to his answer here.
So, the president signed an executive order just this week threatening to defund sanctuary cities for their policies. Why not just arrest the leaders who are harboring and shielding illegal aliens, actually terrorists, from deportation?
Wait to see what's coming.
Wait and see what's coming. Is that what we're going to see next? Because this seems to be the biggest battleground right now in the US, this deportation policy, and the Democrats resisting it with everything they've got.
I love that guy. Oh, my God. He was built for this job, Rita, okay? Look, are we going to see arrests of Democratic mayors? I don't know. Although, I would say turnabout is fair play, since all of these Democrats went out of their way to arrest Donald Trump. So if we did go out to arrest them, I don't know if I would be crying into my cereal, okay? But here's what's most likely is President Trump, look, he pushed another incredible executive order saying to these blue states, if you are sanctuary cities, if you are going against federal mandate, right, federal policy and immigration, we are going to withhold funding, okay? Now, he did this actually in his last term, and it was overturned by a federal district court judge, saying it was unconstitutional. Now, the legalities are actually very complex. I read that order. I read his problem with it. It's not actually clear. It will probably end up going to the Supreme Court, and we'll get more clarity on it. But I don't know. I don't look. It's the domain of the federal government to enforce its will and its laws on immigration. That's the way the Constitution was written. And if you are fighting against that, if you're going against the will of the federal government on immigration, you are committing a felony. Just ask Hannah Dugan or Joel Cano, two federal judges who actually tried to harbor illegal aliens. What happened to them? They got arrested. It was legal. So I'm just saying, just be really careful when you're trying to go up against the federal government. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely, but the Democrats have had free reign. They have just been acting out without fear of consequences. So it will come as a shock because the lawfare has gone one way. But if you actually do break real laws that are on the books, you can't expect to be above the law. Now, one of the most underreported stories, I think, throughout the Trump administration this second term is the number of hostages, the number of prisoners this administration has brought back. Here's the 47th example. This is Tony Holden, who was working as a US defence contractor in 2022 when he was arrested and imprisoned in Kuwait's central prison on drug charges. Now, the details of this case are shocking, Ami. This man was threatened, he was tortured, and a judge found that the case was a sham. This is in Kuwait. A Kuwaiti judge said the officers presented fabricated conversation between themselves and Tony Holden in English, even though they didn't speak the language. Holden has expressed his gratitude after being freed.
As President Trump, I want to thank you for what you've done for me and my family. I just mentioned to Adam that I wanted you to know, everyone on your team, everyone that have supported this effort, that you know that we greatly appreciate it. Okay, I wanted you to be able to meditate on how you affected personally lives and the difference that you've made. I'm a 60-year-old grandfather and father.
Ami, these cases are incredible and they should be feel-good moments for the whole country, regardless of what side of politics you're on. How are they not getting media attention?
Look, it's another example of the Trump presidential dividend, right? Things that we didn't expect that we're getting. 47 hostages. That is a lot of people to be freed, right? And it took Trump 100 days, what Biden couldn't do for 4 years, right? These people, and the example you just talked about, it was an absolutely egregious example of an American hostage innocently being held by a foreign government, right? It was public details about how they railroaded this guy. Yet Biden was able to do nothing. Look, harkens back to Mark Fogel, right? The American who was released from Russia after it took years for Biden to list him as illegally detained when it was very clear that that's what happened. He was a hostage in Russia, but he got Griner released with alacrity, right? There's a problem here. Look, we had very little leverage with Russia, but with Kuwait, we have a tremendous amount of leverage. He could have gotten him freed years ago, right? We sell billions of dollars to Kuwait every year in military equipment. We have a ton of leverage with these guys. Biden would not use it to get this guy freed. And I have to wonder why. It is so weird. Look, it's another example of Trump being president and the world saying, we better get in the same page as president, otherwise we're going to have a problem.
And we'll be talking about those trade deals in the coming weeks, Ami, because it looks like they're going to be struck very shortly. And we'll see that political and economic realignment. Before you go, I want to bring you this clip from the BBC chairman, Samir Shah. He was being interviewed and he was asked a rather simple question, I would have thought. But watch how he squirms when he's asked about whether Hamas are terrorists.
One last question. Just for you as an individual, Samir, do you consider Hamas to be a terrorist group?
I have to answer that in terms of the way we currently view it.
What do you think they are? Do you think they're a convocation of happy little squirrels?
I don't think that. I don't think that. But... I'm here as the chairman of the BBC.
I know you are, but you're also here as Samir Shah. You exist as an individual entity.
I can tell you what I think when I'm Samir Shah. Right now, talking to the world, I am the chairman of the BBC, and we have taken the view as a board that we continue to use the word terrorist only with attribution. That's the position we take.
I think.
Ami, just incredible. And you see the output of the BBC and it all kind of makes sense.
Look, I'm glad this is all coming to light in England, right? But it's really not getting much traction here in the United States. You know, I find it so funny with my Democratic friends. say to me, oh my God, we hate the American media. Oh, they're so effete. The American media doesn't tell the truth. You have to go to Europe for the real truth. You have to listen to the BBC. Oh, shut up, okay? The BBC is the most biased organization maybe in the world. Okay, I'd rather listen to Al Arabiya, okay, than I would the BBC. The BBC has been riddled with problems for many, many years, but only now they're coming to light, thankfully. Look, there's a whole investigation about their open anti-Semitism at the BBC done by the British government. The Telegraph came out with a series of articles about BBC bias against Israel. I mean, horrific bias, where they're supporting October 7th, supporting Hamas, talking about supporting the Holocaust. I'm not kidding. I mean, there was a prominent journalist who appears on the BBC all the time who talked about, thankfully, the Jews are being burned just like they were in the Holocaust. Okay, there's a documentary made by the BBC, broadcast by the BBC by somebody who's the son of a Hamas minister, right? Look, and this guy, Samir, who will not simply, and so they finally said, okay, we're going to do an investigation, okay? And this guy, Samir Shah, who just saw, who wouldn't call Hamas a terrorist organization, is the one who's overseeing the investigation. It's unbelievable to me. I'm glad it's coming to light, but yeah, I don't think it's getting no traction or coverage here in the U.S. It's unbelievable.
Ami Horowitz, thank you so much for your time tonight.